Today I want to talk about the topic of pre-match football trading. This is something I have talked about a little bit in an old video on my YouTube channel, but I want to talk about it in more detail here because it's something I have been dabbling in a little bit, and I want to talk about the process of doing that and more or less my frustrations with it. I find it so much more difficult to perform compared to just normal, regular betting and trading, which is results dependent. To give a quick recap about what pre-match football trading is, it is essentially placing a back or a lay bet on any result to occur many hours before the game kicks off, in the anticipation that the odds of the team that you have backed or laid on are going to move in a direction which is favourable for your position, so you can cash out for a profit before the game kicks off. The advantages of this are abundantly clear. If you can cash out for a profit before the game starts, then you have no risk situation, you're guaranteed profit. And you're not vulnerable to the chaotic nature of sport where anything can happen once an event goes in play. And that all sounds well and good in theory, being able to just get a profit before a game kicks off and then you just walk away like that. But in reality, things are so much more complicated than that. And this is what I want to talk about in this video, about why things just don't make sense when you're pre-match trading. So a bit of a backstory here is that I did a bit of pre-match trading, maybe it's like 2 years ago now, with very small stakes, and I just found it kind of crazy, to be honest. Nothing seemed to make sense. Teams that were more likely to win were drifting before kickoff, and teams which didn't have that great of a chance of winning were coming in before kickoff, and I couldn't really understand why these moves were happening. But now, fast forward to present day, or a couple of weeks ago when I started attempting this again, I have a lot more market knowledge, I have a lot more football knowledge, so I thought, you know, why not give this a go? It allows a potential another strategy to my arsenal if I can get it to work. And the main focus I want to talk about in this video is the two games from the Champions League last week at the time of recording. Those two games were Manchester City versus Bayern Munich, and then Real Madrid versus Chelsea. The reason I want to talk about these two games is because they're two games that have similar types of odds. So this is an interesting dynamic because I'm thinking, okay, the market is projecting that these two games are similar in terms of it thinks the favourite has a similar chance of winning the game. So I can use all of my football knowledge and my market knowledge, which I've gathered, and look at these two games and say, the market is thinking these two games are going to be the same. So does the favourite in this game have the same chance of winning compared to the favourite in this game? Well, if the answer is no, then one of them, favourites, is either too big or too small in the price, and vice versa. And that is what I thought when I looked at these two games. I thought to most people's eyes, even casual bettors and fans, Real Madrid's chances of beating Chelsea, to me, and to everyone I would expect, seem far bigger than Manchester City's chances of beating Bayern Munich. Don't get me wrong, both Manchester City and Real Madrid should be favourites in their respective games. But the difference in quality between Real Madrid and Chelsea, in my opinion, is much bigger than the difference in quality between Manchester City and Bayern Munich. A quick glance at the league tables of these teams will show you that. So I'm looking at these odds and seeing Manchester City, according to the market, are more likely to beat Bayern Munich than Real Madrid are to beat Chelsea. And that just didn't sit right with me. So Manchester City's game was the day before the Chelsea game, so I was trading this game first, and I thought, right, Manchester City's price, in my opinion, given this little bit of logic, I'm thinking, the price is too short, so I entered in with a big lay stake on Manchester City. This is a big stake that I'm using, but it's never really at risk. I mean, at the very worst case, or the very best case scenario, it's going to move, what, 10 ticks in my favour or against me? So my actual loss or profit is going to be much smaller than these values here. So it isn't just about using my football knowledge, it's also about using market knowledge and seeing what people are actually betting on. Because just because a team is more likely or less likely to win, it doesn't mean the people in the market can see this and they may be betting using completely flawed logic and emotion. So if a lot of money is coming in for a team, it doesn't necessarily mean that team is more likely to win. So I checked the price chart of Manchester City and seen that they have been coming in quite significantly ever since the market opened, really. And I placed the lay bet in on the day of the game. I think it was like 5 hours before kickoff, something like that. Expecting to see that the price is drying up a little bit. It has started to drift out a little bit, and thinking, well, the market's opened up here and money's being matched here. Why are they suddenly becoming much more likely to win this game? Why is the price coming in so much? There's just no new information that's coming out about these two teams. There's no injury concerns from either team. So what is it that's making the price come in so much? Could it just be that all this money here was just completely inefficient and now it's come to the efficient price and it may even come lower? Or could it be that people have just backed this team in too much? And that is exactly what I thought. I thought the team in coming too much and it would drift out to this more sensible position. And this is also what I think a reasonable price would be, about 1.75 or a little bit higher for Manchester City in this big game like this. So yeah, there I'm using market knowledge and the football pricing knowledge through experience in the football markets to try and figure out where the price is going to end up. And then I'm thinking, in a worst case scenario, how much further are they going to come in? I mean, I said 10 ticks a couple of minutes ago, but can I really see them coming in to that low of odds? Not really. It's probably going to be like 5 ticks at most. So by the time the game was about to kick off, the price had come in a few more ticks. So I did have to cash out for a small loss. It wasn't the end of the world, but now I'm looking at that and thinking, in my opinion, Manchester City started this game at too short odds. But because I'd gone in pre-off, I was like, well, why don't I just value bet this instead and lay Manchester City at the start of this game? I seem to have just wasted a bunch of time here trying to predict where the market's going, rather than just waiting to see where the market's going, saying, is that right? Is that wrong? And if it's right, ignore it, or if it's wrong, then place a lay or a back bet, depending on whereabouts the market is finalised. But this was just the start of my frustrations. The next game, Real Madrid and Chelsea, was far more frustrating. So now I have the start price of the Manchester City versus Bayern Munich game, you know, the price where the efficient price where all this money is coming in to find what roughly is the true odds. I see now that Chelsea are much higher in odds than Manchester City were at the start of their game, and this is extremely ridiculous to me. Real Madrid are the best team in the history of the Champions League, the 14-time winners. Chelsea are 11th in the table and they can barely score a goal. And there is no way you could convince me that Real Madrid were less likely to beat Chelsea than Manchester City were to beat Bayern Munich. So that's why I placed a big back bet on Real Madrid to win this game, thinking at the very least Real Madrid should be equally likely to beat Chelsea than Manchester City are to beat Bayern. So at the start of this game, I expect Real Madrid's price to come in and match roughly what Manchester City's price was at the start of their game. That was the reason for this back bet, and I placed the bet the night before the game. When I woke up in the morning, things looked very well. The price had come in and I could cash out for a nice profit. And when I looked at the market, I still thought there's still room for improvement in these odds to come in my direction and come in a little bit more. So I left the position open. Only to my surprise, later in the day, they started drifting back out as kickoff approached. And this just didn't make any sense to me, and it drifted above the price that I entered in rather frustratingly. So again, I had to cash out for another loss. And right now I've seen these ridiculously high odds for Real Madrid to win this game. I mean, if I'd come to this game without doing all this pre-match stuff, I would have just looked at the odds and thought, that's value, back Real Madrid. I just don't see how to make this pre-match trading profitable when nothing seems to make sense. And this is the crux of the problem. It just seems to be no way to anticipate which direction the market is actually going to go in, particularly for pre-match football trading. It just seems to be absolute randomness. In the end, I just have to take the positives of the situation and think that if the market behaved correctly and teams that were more likely to win a game did come in and came into the correct price before the start of the game, if that was the case, there would just be no opportunities for actual in-play trading. If every team started at the odds that they should start, then obviously there'd be no value on offer. So I just think different people suit different styles, and this is where I just feel like I fit a style of actually seeing the mispricings in the market and then placing the bets accordingly and then letting them run in play to see if I'm right or wrong. But that doesn't mean you watching this video can't get pre-match football trading to work. Different people have different styles of betting and trading, and just because I can't see through the noise of these strange markets, it doesn't mean that you can't. So it's something that I do recommend that you try and do, particularly if you are struggling at traditional Betfair trading and betting in play on football matches. If you can't get that to work, maybe go into the pre-match markets to see if your style can fit them too. Just make sure that you are out of the position before the game kicks off. You don't want to let a position go in play it'll be the end of you. It'll be a total disaster. I hope you enjoyed this mini rant about pre-match football trading, and maybe you've experienced these problems before if you've ever tried it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later.